Now joining me on the Peerless Boilers hotline, the play-by-play voice of the New York Football Giants, and that's Bob Papa. Bob, Zach Gelb here, TalkUSA.tv. Thank you for joining me, and how are you?
I'm doing great, and yourself?
I'm doing great myself, and I know I see those legendary commercials on My 9 and MSG, the whole 9 yards of you coming out into the MetLife Stadium, Carl Banks blasting up the music saying, Papa, Papa. Do the New York Giants fan base treat you well? Because I know Brandon Jacobs doesn't think so.
They treat me great. They treat me great, man. I have no complaints with the Big Blue faithful. They're the best.
Well, I just think Brandon Jacobs has made himself look like a complete and utter moron. He's averaging 1.8 yards per carry. What's going on with Brandon Jacobs, and what do you think of his comments to the Giants fan base?
I think it's a little misguided anger. I know he's frustrated, but, traveling around in different NFL cities every weekend, it happens in a lot of places. I mean, just look at the Jets last week. I mean, Mark Sanchez got booed during pregame introductions, and it's happening in Philadelphia where Eagle fans are frustrated. They had the home loss to the Patriots this past week, and the stadium was half empty. They had the loss to Arizona a few weekends ago. So I think fans by nature have become a lot shorter temper, and I think, there's a lot of components that go with that. But it's not just isolated to New York. And let's face it, if you're a Giant fan, you go to the games this year, you saw a stinker of an effort against the Eagles. You saw them lose at home to Seattle. You haven't seen a lot of great things. So there's a reason that the fans are a little frustrated.
Ahmad Bradshaw hasn't been with the Giants for the last few weeks, and then you have seen Jacobs' production go down because of that, although he has got more carries. What's the latest on Ahmad Bradshaw? Can we expect him to play this week?
It's going to be tough. I mean, they have him in practice today. He's trying to do some things. I'm not really sure if he's going to be able to go. And it really does make a difference. Look, cut to the chase. The offensive line is not playing well. There are not a lot of holes. But because of Jacobs' running style, in which he's a power runner and he's one cut and go, there's just not a lot of areas for him to go. And what you need right now is someone that can really plant their foot in the turf and then cut back. You can find a cutback lane because right now teams are over-pursuing to the ball side. And Brandon is a guy that needs to get his shoulders squared and run downhill. But right now they're not blocking that way, so they don't have anybody that can cut it back and sort of make something out of nothing. And that's why they miss him so much. But the big problem really starts up front in the blocking.
What did you think about David Deal's job moving over to tackle this week?
I thought he did okay at times. In my opinion, David Deal's a better tackle than he is a guard. When you just look at his height and his size, I think with him at guard, even though he's played there before in his career, he's a tall guy. And when you look at some of these nose guards, especially when the Giants play a 3-4, he's playing against guys that are 6 to 8 inches shorter than him. And I think it's just an issue with pad level for him. But I think a tackle, and with Kevin Booth playing a guard, I think this line is going to get a little bit better.
We're talking to the voice of Big Blue, Bob Papa. And Bob, Jimmy Graham just destroyed this Giants secondary. Now they have Jermichael Finley. What do you think they'll change this week going up against the big playmaker?
Well, they got to change something. I mean, they can't just keep doing what they're doing. They're having so much problems in playing zone. And I don't know if it's how they're being taught or whatever the case might be, what their principles are, but they got to start matching up in their zone. I mean, they've got to play a matchup zone when you see a guy coming into your area. You got to break for him and go cover. Right now, what they're doing is they're playing zone, and people are running right through zones, and guys aren't moving until the ball is thrown. And when you do that in the NFL, it's too late.
Yeah, and you look at this defensive line, they had so much depth, and I make this analogy all the time. Defensive line is like pitching here in the MLB. You can't have enough pitching, you can't have enough defensive linemen. Now the Giants are a little bit decimated at that position. Justin Tuck hasn't been playing great. He's a little banged up. Osi Umenyiora won't make the game this week. Talk about this Giants defensive line right now.
Well, I think it's a big problem because they're not getting the pass rush that they need to. And look, I know that they talk about teams are scheming against them and doing some things to negate the pass rush, but hey, let's face it. If you're a great player, you're supposed to be able to beat that stuff. Reggie White did it his whole career. Michael Strahan was double teamed all the time. And you got to find a way to win your personal battle, win that one-on-one battle, and make something happen. And they're going to need Jason Pierre-Paul and Justin Tuck and Matthias Kiwanuka to come come up big. And sometimes you just need guys to win a battle individually and not rely on scheme and all that other stuff, and just go out and play.
Is leadership a problem on this team? Because you know that run in 2007, Antonio Pierce and Michael Strahan were the big talkers in that locker room. It really seems like the Giants don't have a leader this year.
I don't know if they don't have a leader. I just think that, there's some guys that are taking a leadership role. I know Justin Tuck is sort of the spokesperson, but I think the real leader with this team, there's guys like Antrell Roll that have been pretty outspoken, and Chris Canty, I know, has taken a leadership role internally. But you know what? Guys can talk until the cows come home. And someone's got to go make a play. Someone's got to go tip a ball. Someone's got to go knock the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hand, get a hit on the quarterback, force the turnover, and they need to start fast. I mean, they've gone 4 straight games now in which they have not scored a touchdown in the first half, dating back to the Miami game. And they've got to start being a little more assertive offensively, getting some points on the board, letting the defense play with a little lead and putting some pressure on the other team and not making it so comfortable.
We're talking to Bob Papa, the voice of True Blue on WFAN Radio, along with his partner Carl Banks, who will be inducted into the Ring of Honor this week. But you mentioned Rodgers, and I have an interesting question to ask you. Rodgers, they are on the path to perfection right now. They still got a long ways to go. Right now, going into Week 12, who had a better offense at this point? Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, or Tom Brady and the New England Patriots back in 2007?
Tom Brady and the Patriots in 2007. I'm gonna go with that group right now. I know that Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are going to potentially threaten the production, and I know that Rodgers' numbers are off the board. But I just thought that Brady was a maestro. I thought the backs for New England at that time were a little bit better, and they were really good in the screen game, and they ran the ball when they had to. So I'm going to go from a balance standpoint with the Patriots from that group as being a little bit better offensively, but that is just splitting hairs. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, the Green Bay Packers, their running game, it's a little bit inconsistent. Ryan Grant had that injury. He hasn't returned back to the player he was, and Shields has been okay. If you're the Giants this week, are you concerned going up against that Green Bay rushing attack?
I don't know if you're concerned, but you got to pay attention to it. I don't think you can just negate it. Because they have shown at times this year they will show a willingness to run the ball if need be. So I think you got to be cognizant of the run, you got to be cognizant of the screen game, and then from that point forward, it's about getting to the quarterback and putting pressure on Aaron Rodgers. The thing about Aaron Rodgers that is so spectacular is his mobility and his ability to throw on the run. I mean, a little bit reminiscent of John Elway before you were born. But someone that could really run, get out of the pocket, and throw the ball with tremendous velocity, accuracy, and if he has to run, Aaron Rodgers isn't just running for a couple yards. Aaron Rodgers is getting, 10, 11, 12 yards in chunks. He's a lot faster than people think, and he's a fantastic athlete. So they've got to be cognizant of that and be ready for that because he will break your back on a 3rd and 11 by making a play with his legs.
You know what happens when a team doesn't make a playoffs 2 years in a row? Their head coach is definitely on the hot seat if they don't make the playoffs this year. Are you buying into the hype that Tom Coughlin will be on his way out if the Giants don't make the playoffs this year?
I'm not buying into that. If you know the Mara family and the Tisch family and
they love
the way they go about their business, I think that it's very premature to have Coughlin on the hot seat. Now we'll see how these final 5 games play out. But I would lean toward the fact that he's not, and he's going to be given every opportunity to get this thing finished the right way.
We're talking to Bob Papa. And Bob, one more question right before we let you go. We'll look at the Detroit Lions right now. Ndamukong Suh got 2 games of a suspension. Don't you think it's a bit wrong of him appealing this suspension right here? Because the whole point of this is so this guy could learn a lesson. If he appeals this, I really don't think he learns a lesson here. And I still think, I know I saw his Facebook apology. I still believe that he doesn't think that he did anything wrong on Thanksgiving.
He might not have thought so, but remember, this is a guy that initiated a meeting with the commissioner, and the commissioner and the league issued sort of a statement that they're happy with the way he was sort of trying to conduct himself and everything else. And then you have this situation in front of the entire nation. I mean, Thanksgiving Day, the entire nation gets the telecast, and you see what happens. Look, I know he's going to appeal it. At least from what I heard from the league was there was going to be an expedient appeals process, which they're going to make a decision quickly, and there's no way he's winning the appeal. I mean, I find it impossible to believe he's going to win it, but if he wants to appeal it, I guess it's within his right to appeal it, and you exercise that right, but I would be shocked if he wins any kind of appeal based on the kind of firestorm he's caused already.
Was 2 games enough for him?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think 2 games is enough because remember, it's 2.5 games. That game was a close game, and his team was still in the mix on Thanksgiving Day, and his penalty cost his team a touchdown. The Packers were going to kick a field goal, and that game was still going to be within reach, and they wound up getting a fresh set of downs because of his dumb penalty, and then they wound up scoring a touchdown with him out of the game. And when you look after that, you take the fact that then in the rest of the second half he wasn't available, and that turned into a big no-no for them.
Bob, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Hope to do it again real soon.
You got it anytime.
Bob Papa joining us there on the Peerless Boilers hotline. We'll take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll chat a little bit about Bobby V taking the job with the Boston Red Sox. And then at 7:40, New York Daily News writer Dick Hoops Weiss will come on the show and join us to talk a little Syracuse Orangemen. Back after this.